Hello, everyone. My name is Andre Diaz. Me and Will are back today to do the Marvel Plus talk. And, well, Will just decided to choose this topic, and this is the Mandarin, uh, the Ten Rings, the main character we're going to see in Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings coming in September. And first question why you picked this topic? I'm kind of curious.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for Shang-Chi,
Mm,
and I don't know, I've always been interested in the Mandarin as a character, as like a character that I don't know that much about, but he seems interesting. I like that he's like an Iron Man villain, but his main thing is pretty magical. I like that conflict of like science in Iron Man and like the magic of the Mandarin and
yeah.
how they interact. Um, yeah, and I was before this discussion, I was like reading up about the Mandarin and the rings specifically,
Yes.
and they seem really cool. I like. I just love that they're like alien.
Mm,
I don't. I like that they belonged to this like alien race that looked like a dragon. I think that's a cool way for like someone to explain the prevalence of like dragons in mythologies from around the world is that there's like alien race.
yeah,
Um,
and I'm curious if they're gonna tie that in the film.
yeah, I'm curious about that too. I mean, we're definitely getting dragons. I don't know if they're um, gonna be alien.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, it's just kind of interesting. And honestly, is Finn Fanfoon gonna be in it as well?
could be it's the same alien race.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. It's
I'm
very curious. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm personally curious if the Ten Rings are going to have the different powers that they do in the comics. Like they each have a specific designation,
Yeah,
um, and from what we've seen, it doesn't seem like they're going to. They all seem pretty uniform, which is like honestly disappointing. But we'll see
yeah.
when the
Well,
movie comes out.
yeah. I guess. Well, I think if they I guess I'm kind of curious how they're gonna make the Mandarin powers work. I When I saw the first trailer, when we saw like him having the like round rings around his wrist, that was like a very cool concept. And
Yeah, yeah, I love that change.
yeah, and I thought that was a good update version. And the thing is, with the trailers, I don't think the trailers are showing us his various abilities
Hmm.
from those rings. I think they're just showing us this one maybe ability. We're just kind of seeing this trailers, and that the rest are kind of like surprises later on
Yeah,
when we see the film, if that happens, of course.
yeah. I hope so, but it seems like there's that one shot where like he and uh, Shang-Chi are like the rings are like on both their arms and they're
Yeah.
connecting like the like Harry Potter wizard duel thing.
Oh
Uh,
God.
but like it, I don't know. All the rings just look like they have the same like energy or like force behind them.
Yeah.
I'm worried they're not going to have distinct powers.
Yeah. That would make me more disappointed because I love the Mandarin. I
Hmm.
I guess I'm like I guess from I'm a huge Iron Man fan, and then when I got to the Mandarin, he is a very interesting character against Iron Man, and his rings are very interesting. Each each medium has taken the Mandarin very unique places. Armor Avengers, they did have a very unique version of the Mandarin there, and and that really got into like the alien aspect. Um, and then The '90s one, I'm trying to remember. The '90s one was kind of like what were in the comics during the '60s and onwards, and so, and then of course coming into the movies, I guess one thing I'll kind of ask you, Will, where you're like, do you knew in the first Iron Man movie when the Ten Rings captured Tony that you never like, did you knew that was like a nod to the Mandarin? Because
I didn't at the time. I
yeah,
did like after I watched the movie and I was like reading about it. Um, I learned about the Mandarin and the Ten Rings, and that it was just like a nod to the very classic Iron Man villain. Um, yeah, no, I'm really interested to see how they tie in, if they tie in the terrorist organization from the Iron Man movies to
yes,
this new Mandarin,
yeah,
because it makes sense. Like the new one's like a crime boss, so if he had like a global criminal network, could make sense. Although like terrorist organization in the Middle East might be a bit of a stretch.
well, I mean, it'd be cool. He was like a businessman for like corporate, you know, war profiteering, and like his like there's like maybe like a fraction that he has from different countries, and the one we saw was just like a tiny like subsidiary that was run for this one person that worked beneath the Mandarin or like on above from the Mandarin, right? And
Mhm.
like, and I feel like that could happen, like kind of like Spectre from James Bond.
Yeah.
I feel like that could happen. Um, yeah, and I guess do you have you seen the other like adaptations of the Mandarin, like the '90s and the Armor Avengers I mentioned just right now?
No.
Oh, really? Okay. Um, I will say, I guess we can get into kind of like the stereotypicalness of this character, and
Yeah.
I will say the '90s one is not like particularly good
Yeah.
because
No.
I,
I've seen pictures.
uh, he's green and he's like
Well,
a
I have a question. Is he green because like I I know that in certain comics, if he like wears the rings too long, he starts to take on the like physical appearance of
mhm.
the dragon alien race.
um
Is that the
that
reason he's green, or is he just
yes.
okay?
I mean, it's kind of funny. So in the show there, he did this weird thing of showing his whole origin to Iron Man in that
Mhm.
show, and like he explained how he found the rings and that he restored them, and then it kind of mutate his whole body into this image of the Mandarin you saw in that cartoon show. So you know, so that's why he's green. Um, but it's one of those weird, unique things they did in that show because he was never like that in comics. They never made his skin green. It's always like normal and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that one is okay. I mean, his character is like a yeah, archaeologist, and like that's how he's known as this alien spaceship and stuff like that. So yeah, and then the one that is probably the best one is from Iron Man Armor Avengers, and this one is much more appropriate. And his main name is Gene Khan, and he is a more sympathetic character because he gets kind of got into this Yasuka kind of family. His mom died, and so like he takes it in by his stepfather, and he's critical. And this is where like instead of like a terrorist group, this is like a more mafia, like Japanese group, and so I feel like that version is the best one. And here they really go into deep of like the alien technology, and we actually see the the aliens that created the rings towards the end of the series, Armored Avengers. So I highly recommend seeing that show and see this version of the Mandarin because it's really good. And I like his part to Tony Stark, like because this show, the Iron Man is like a teenager, and so the Mandarin is a teenager as well, and it's kind of interesting to see both of them clashing each other, and it's a very good depiction of this new version of the Mandarin. So this might be,
Okay.
yeah. So it's in Disney Plus. You can see the 2 seasons. So I really like that, and I guess and especially the costumes. He wears like a more armor kind of look into that show, and where the other ones, the other versions are like usually he wears like a like a like a Chinese robe, and then the rings. Where here, this version, I like how he wears an armor, and he has the rings, and that's very cool. So, and yeah, and he's a very interesting character. Like, you think, um, do you think the the culture and like the depiction of this character is very stereotypical? Um, and you think
Um,
it's kind of like the thing that's hardest for people to adapt this character?
yeah, I think it's not inherently like that. I think it has been like that a lot in the past, but I think
Yeah,
it's possible to do this without falling into stereotypes, um, which is what I'm hoping from the new movie,
yeah,
is that they can avoid that, and I think they will. Um,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, especially hiring the great actor Tony. Hold on, I got his name. Tony. Tony Lane, the actor that's playing him in this film. I think he's a good pick, and so I think he will definitely become a good version of the Mandarin. And I guess um, speaking of the Mandarin and his like nationality, you think um like a like a version of the Mandarin, like a Middle East version, could work in the MCU? Not the version we're getting, like before Iron Man 3. We think that could have been the best version we could have gotten with this character.
Um, I don't know. I think a lot of things in the MCU would have had to have gone in like a different direction for that to.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
I because you mentioned how the first Iron Man movie, the the 10 rings there are like you know, classic terrorist depictions, right?
Mhm.
And I always wonder before Iron Man 3, like maybe that could have been the right direction to take the Mandarin. And because like I like before Iron Man 3, before the twist, I thought Ben Kingsley and that Mandarin, like I thought that was actually the best way to go. And um and then it didn't happen. Oh God. And then the question is, do you like that he didn't have the um magical or like the alien technology from the comics? I think. Do you like that notion that he like not having those powers?
No, I'd rather have him
Okay.
those powers. I like when the like again like the magic clashes with Iron Man. Like the magic versus technology is a very interesting conflict that I'd like more like movies and books and stuff to like portray more. Um,
Yeah.
I think it would have made a very interesting Iron Man storyline if
Yeah,
Tony Stark's like character arc had gone differently.
yeah. I thought, I thought so. After we had the Avengers, I thought we were kind of comfortable doing the more comic book stuff,
Mm.
and then that didn't happen. I, I mean, I guess I should have expected that they're gonna take liberties with these properties, and honestly, I mean, at the time I was growing up, I didn't, like I wasn't, comfortable, or like I didn't knew the concept of like, reputation, or like, stereotypical, and
Mhm.
what was not acceptable. And I feel like that the somewhat direction they went early on in phase one and then entering phase two made sense. And then honestly in Iron Man 3, the twist kind of just throw that whole thing out.
Yeah.
And I guess I guess we can get into the conversation of Iron Man 3. When Iron Man Iron Man 3 was coming out, were you excited to see Ben Kingsley as the Mandarin?
Yeah, it was. I mean, he's a great actor. Um, it's an interesting character.
Yeah. Um, best best quotes from a villain. I I love his quote, like "You'll never see me coming." Like
Yeah,
like
the Iron Man 3 trailer is incredible.
oh my god.
Um, and I think we have very different opinions about Iron Man 3.
Yes.
Yeah.
I um I I appreciate Iron Man 3 more because of Shane Black. But at the same time I was disappointed when I saw it initially. And so uh I guess I was I think the idea of what Shane Black was talking about, not knowing like the villain and like what they were actually doing behind closed doors, I thought that was really well handled in the film. But then I mean, I thought I think for me, I was disappointed that we didn't like connect at all the Mandarin and the Ten Rings from the first film, and really make that trilogy satisfying. Like Iron Man could find the thing that made him Iron Man, right? Um, and then when 2 years ago, when we got the announcement the Mandarin was coming back, I was very disappointed because it makes Iron Man 3 look like, okay, it was just like a test run, really. I I don't know.
Well, I don't know about that.
I mean, not test run. I'm
Because
sorry, just superfluous. That's the word I'll say.
I don't think so.
Okay,
I think
I
it's just that like the Mandarin of Iron Man 3 was like a red herring, but the story that they told um, is still like it's just a different story. It's
yeah
I guess if you take Iron Man 3 and you just like forget that the Mandarin is like related to it at all, it still works.
yeah
You know.
um yeah Oh Hail the King confirms that. I do want to mention my with the audience that that's the one that confirmed that the real magic is out there, right? And so um, the short film that was in Thor: The Dark World, maybe, so something like that. And I guess are you comfortable seeing this new version of Mandarin not facing Iron Man? Like I like
Yeah, I mean, I would have liked to have seen it, but
okay,
I get that it's not happening, and that's fine.
yeah. I I I don't know what to think about it because I like as an Iron Man fan, I kind of wish I saw that before we ever took one villain from the Rose Gallery into another one, but at least this makes sense and it's appropriate. And of course, they didn't have the rights for Fan Chu, yeah, for Shang-Chi. So, which is a better compromise, the change of like Shang-Chi's whole background, and which I'm happy with. And also a cool tile. I love Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. I think that's a cool tile.
Yeah, it was a really good title.
Yes. Yeah, and I, I guess, and then I guess another thing I kind of like is, we're getting the Suicide Squad soon, right? And then there's a character called Ratcatcher too. So I kind of like we're getting like another version of the Mandarin. Like we now have two people that had used this name, and that's kind of cool because in the comics we always have multiple people, having the mantle of this villain name or persona.
Well,
so.
I think the implication of Iron Man 3 is that there is like a real Mandarin out there, and he's funding that terrorist organization. And then there's one guy who's pretending to be him to get to Tony Stark.
Yeah.
So I think there's really only been one Mandarin all along, and it's this one that we're gonna see in September.
Yeah, and I guess, hopefully he doesn't die. I do want him to come back.
Yeah, I am kind of. I have a feeling he's gonna die.
Ugh. I mean, like we know, Shang-Chi has the sister. There was a female Mandarin in one of the animation Iron Man directed videos, so that could happen. So, and I guess, I guess, I kind of wonder, because I was kind of wondering this. The question is, before you saw the trailer, you thought they were going to do the realistic Mandarin or they were going to do the magic Mandarin? Because I kind of curious about that one.
I figured they were going to do the magic one.
Oh, really? I thought they were going to do the realistic Mandarin because I mean, of course we got Doctor Strange, but like I never knew if they were going to be confident to go to that direction.
Yeah, I thought they were going to do like a watered down version of it.
Okay. Because I was very concerned about that because I like the Mandarin with the 10 rings and the dragon, which we're gonna get. And by the way, I think people are confused about that dragon we saw in the trailer. That wasn't fan film. That was like a water dragon that's made for this film, and that we haven't seen yet. Fan film in these trailers, so they're probably setting him later. And we see like other creatures in that trailer, like one of those like lion like beast things that was that was jumping around one section of the trailer.
Yeah, man, I'm really excited for this movie.
Yeah, I know. I'm pretty excited for this one. I'm very excited they're going into the more mystic universe for Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah.
And I feel like this one is doing much better than Doctor Strange.
There's a lot of really cool like fantasy elements in this as well.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
We don't get a lot of like fantasy movies anymore.
No.
Like I'm trying to think. There's the Fantastic Beasts movies.
Yes.
That's it that I can think of from like recent years.
Yeah.
For like big budget fantasy.
Yeah. The Hobbit that we had.
Yeah, I guess that was I was thinking more recent than that because that was still like.
Yeah, I know. I just picked those because, was it like it wasn't far between the Fantastic Beasts movies, because the last Hobbit movie was 2014, and then well,
2018.
um,
Yeah, I guess the
the
Hobbit
sec
movies came out more recently than I thought they did.
yeah, because I mean, Warner's watched like I mean, because the Fantastic Beasts movies and the Hobbit were back to back
Yeah,
doing
yeah,
stuff, and it's like you forget instantly. It's like a while, you know.
yeah. I guess I've tried
Um,
to forget the Hobbit movies.
yes, I haven't seen the Hobbit movie, so I'm good. I
Yeah, no, you are good.
oh
They're
god.
they're not good.
I mean, oh, I a side joke. We were talking about the Green Knight in the text, right?
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier.
Yeah, and I, I, it's a good movie, but I will feel for people that didn't like the film. Is because it was very slow, and I was like, okay, this is how I think people feel like when they're watching Hobbit, the unexpected journey. This is a slow pace, and
Yeah,
just oh my god, just oh my god. But it picks up
yeah,
around third act and such. And yeah, you're right. We haven't had like big budget fantasy films, and I think Doctor Strange and Shang-Chi will be the next ones to hopefully. I mean, we got more of those on TV. I feel like that's been,
yeah, yeah. We've had Game of Thrones and the,
and
a lot of other examples, but yeah.
yeah, Game of Thrones, the most obvious one. And I guess, uh, and then I guess I'm trying to figure out. Were you happy that they made the Mandarin be the father of Shang-Chi? Like, do you know Shang-Chi before this announcement?
Uh, Not really, but I do know that his father in the comics is Fu Manchu, which is if you're talking um, Asian stereotypes,
Yeah, I seen
that
that.
is the worst example. That's literally like the name for horrible Asian stereotypes. So
Oh my god.
definitely a good change
Yes.
to get rid of that.
Yeah.
Um,
I,
yeah, I think it's a really interesting change. And I'm looking forward to just like seeing that father-son dynamic. I think it'll be um,
and
cool.
yeah, and that's another thing that's interesting about this villain hero versus is their father and son. And Will, just remind me, did we ever have that in any of the superhero films we've seen? I
We've had uh, brother and brother.
Yeah, with Thor and
Uh,
Loki, and then
yeah,
and Magneto and Charles, because they feel like they're brothers as well. You know,
yeah. Uh,
I the closest that we got that was Batman and Rachel Gould in Begins, um, because of
I'm trying to think of like Marvel stuff.
yeah, because I this is like
Um,
yeah, well Thanos with
yeah,
Gamora,
Gamora
that and
and
then
Nebula.
yeah, and then
Oh, Ego.
Eagle.
Duh. That's the big example.
So
Or
I'm actually
Ultron.
Ultron, yes, with Tony,
Yeah.
and then
Oh,
who
yeah, we've gotten
else?
that before.
And then Vulture. I should now think about it. Like the
Kind
Vulture's
of.
kind
Yeah.
of the father. So oh no, they actually have done that. So I'm kind of curious about with the Mandarin, like what kind of like themes and like motifs they're gonna do with the Mandarin as a father, like how he like how he's like similar to Eagle, the Vulture, and Thanos, and like but also what makes him different from those three, right?
Hmm.
I'm very curious about the storyline because family has been like a major theme in the MCU, and so and it was kind of interesting about this project. Like we're seeing like a lot of family, uh, thematics. Like the Shang-Chi sisters in this film. Apparently, she's like a extrand from the father and the brother as well. And then Michelle Yeoh. I'm trying to figure out who's her character in this movie is. Um,
Hmm.
like, is she like a friend of the mother? Uh, do see in the trailers, and like, and she's doing like hero stuff, like the flower, like the the green grass and the floors and the wind. It reminds me of the movie Hero. I don't know if you've seen that film. Um,
No.
oh my god, you have to see that. It's great. It's a good Japanese martial arts film.
Okay, yeah,
Um,
I'll check it out.
yeah. Um, and you seen Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon? Um,
Mhm.
yes. Uh,
Yeah.
oh my god, great film. It reminds me of that as well.
Mhm.
So I'm very curious about the father and son um, relationship because I feel like that's the thing that I'm most intrigued about, and also kind of intrigued where his mother is at. Like, did the father kill her so that he can take back the son? You know?
Ooh, it's a good question.
Yeah. A lot of questions I'm bringing up now. Yeah. So I guess overall you think um I guess to like wrap things up, like you think when if this movie does well, you think they should take this version of the Mandarin and make that as the definitive version of the Mandarin? Because that's something I think I wish this character has. It's like a more definitive look and just motivation.
Mm,
Because I
I I don't know. I guess I want to wait to see exactly what this version is like because I like his relationship with his son. I like that idea.
yeah
I like the change of the rings to being like armbands that would actually be
yeah
big enough to be the rings of a dragon instead of a person.
makes sense.
Um, but I want to make sure that they like keep the magical elements of the ring
Yeah
before I say, yeah, I want the movie version to be the definitive version.
yeah. And you mentioned well, you mentioned the alien technology thing. You think they're gonna do that for this version, or they're gonna do completely mystical?
I have a feeling they're gonna do completely mystical, but I really want them to
Yes.
do the alien tech.
Okay.
It
Really?
can be both. Like it
I
could
mean,
be
yeah,
like alien tech that's been here for a really long time, and there's like mystical stuff associated with it.
it's true.
Um, but I
Um,
have a feeling they're just gonna do the mystical stuff.
okay, because well, like, and the reason I asked that because I like they're going to the mystical stuff because I always felt weird that were they did the alien technology thing to explain magic, and I
Mm.
don't like that. Like it feels like a cop out
Yeah.
sometimes.
Well, I think it can be
Sometimes,
both.
yeah,
Like it can be alien tech and magic.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I think the one thing that I like about the Thor movies and
Guardians, maybe
yeah,
as
the
well.
end of Guardians too, was that like I feel like a lot of times, not always, but like comics will just kind of like forget that if magic exists on Earth, it should exist everywhere.
Oh,
So like there should be magic in space if there's magic on Earth.
okay,
And like I know that like Doctor Strange has been like a member of the Guardians before. Like they've done that.
yeah,
Or like the current season of Legends of Tomorrow is about magic in space.
yeah.
Um,
Um, with
but there's
Constantine.
usually just such like a really hard line between like the space stuff and the magic stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
I, I mean, I, I like it to be separate, but at the same time, if you're making like a shared universe, it makes sense.
yeah,
So what Marvel's doing makes sense. Where
yeah,
DC, um, it, in DC, it's sometimes it's because they don't do crossovers a lot like Marvel does. I feel like it's never like an obligation for them to do like a very shared universe kind of type for their characters. So,
Yeah.
and I guess any last thoughts to talk about the Mandarin? Um, like, did we cover everything about the Mandarin? I feel like we
I
did.
mean, we covered everything I wanted to talk about. I don't think I know enough about the Mandarin to say that we covered everything.
Yeah. Well, uh, he's a very interesting character. Like, I feel like he's like the most toughest character that Marvel has have to write. And I was looking at a video, and he has like a long gap from his appearance in the comics. So there's not like too much storylines that we can read, from him. Like, I think, yeah, like there's the storyline Enter the Mandarin I could recommend, and that's from 2007. And then the next Mandarin in the manufacturer one was around what, like 2011, around 8, like 4 to 5 years, or something like that. But I mean, it happens with other villains, but like I feel like his character has been the most difficult, and for good reasons, as we discussed in this podcast. He's very crushable, I would say. You know, and I guess for me, I like my most exposure with the Mandarin has been the animation, and I feel like they have the most interesting depiction on that character, and not the '90s one. I don't think the '90s one is that good. Um, I mean, he's a fun character in that show, um, but the Armor Adventures, I feel like, is the best version to watch, in my opinion. And then Iron Man 3, I like the concept of the Mandarin there. If we're not going to do anything with him for this film, right? I thought that was a good one-off for the Mandarin, because it was like the last time we're going to have an Iron Man film. And I thought that was a good way to bring him in for this final time for Iron Man. But that didn't happen, because he was going to be back for Age of Ultron, and then Civil War, and then through the saga of Infinity War.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought the Arch killing thing was kind of interesting. Like, I couldn't mind the Mandarin have like the extremist formula he had. I think that'd be a more compromised power he have instead of the rings. But it was just and that also very weird, like a white man calling himself the Mandarin, and like
Middle. Oh wait,
I'm talking about
you talking about
Killian.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
Ben Kingsley's.
yeah, because I mean, if you just kept Ben Kingsley, I feel like that was the best version you could have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, and I mean, the Mandarin is not the only one. Like, we saw the Abomination in the trailer, um, and and he's going to have a new upgrade, and he looks more like the comics. And and then Taskmaster is having that same level of how you say, fan outright. I cry, because the reason he's coming back, the Mandarin, is because me and so many Iron Man fans didn't like his depiction in Iron Man 3.
Mm-hmm.
And I were you surprised that you think that outcry helped bring back this version to the MCU?
Yeah, I do. I think
Okay.
they realized like how popular the character was and how much people wanted a faithful adaptation.
Yeah, I'm shocked. Like, they're doing this version again, this character again. Um, yeah, because you mentioned Fordwell, like, it's interesting to see like technology versus magic, and like Iron Man versus this one thing that is out of his like comfort zone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I wish we saw that in Iron Man film, but whatever, it happens.
Yeah, I think the character arc that we did get with Tony, where it's like him grappling with like his role as a leader and um, his like impact on the world.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
think that was very interesting as well. Um, so like I am happy with the story that we got with him, but I think him um, having his worldview challenged by something he can't explain, like magic, would have been really interesting as well.
Yeah. And I guess to wrap things up, I want to talk about Iron Man 3 because we have both different point of view. Do you like? What's the reason you don't like this film? Or
No, I love Iron Man 3.
okay, you like Iron Man 3, so
But I'm perfectly fine with the Mandarin twist as well.
oh, okay. And I guess I have a question. What was your reaction to that twist? I
I mean, initially I was surprised and a little disappointed that we weren't going to get Ben Kingsley as the Mandarin.
I
But
know. Oh my
I
God.
think it made a lot of sense,
Hmm.
um, like story wise, and also like thematically for the um, like Tony became Iron Man because he was in the Middle East and he found out that terrorists were using his
His
weapons,
weapons. Yeah.
and then to find out that just like there is a man um, who was like responsible for that like terrorist group who's also just like a rich white American dude
Yeah.
that he had also created. It was like
Yeah.
full circle, like Tony Stark being a dick 20 years ago um,
Yeah.
completely upended his life. It was just all karma.
Yeah. And then this theme how Tony mentioned in the beginning of Iron Man 3, we create our own demons, and
Right.
that's like the plot through of Iron Man 3. Yeah. And I
Yeah.
also like the idea of the Mandarin, but also Killian creating like not another suit, but like this new high tech like super soldier thing
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
that's much better than the Iron Man suit. And I like the idea in the
Mm-hmm.
film of why
Yeah.
he's doing that,
Mm-hmm.
So I really like that one. Um, I mean, it was pretty funny. I mean, because Ben Kingsley has been attached to these, the superhero films. Like he was supposed to play the Vulture one time in Spider-Man 3 before that never happened. Um, and so it was cool to see him here, and he is funny actually as Trevor Savary.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah. He is.
which I do love. Um, I love how what was the line like? Oh, they created me, like
Mhm.
mentioning how AIM created him. The think tank.
Yep.
Oh my god, it was so great. Oh man. Well, to officially wrap things up, uh, man, what if is coming out next Wednesday, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Uh, and I will say I'm very excited about that. We're going to be back again for the TV weekly, and it's going to be 10 weeks. Can you believe that?
Yeah. Well, I think it's 9 episodes.
Oh, really? I,
I think so.
hold on, because I, hold on. Yes, 9. You're right, Will. Sorry. It's 9 episodes. Because it's weird because people like we're we have the confirmation of the episodes and everyone's saying 10 weeks because we have what like 4 weeks until August, right? Something like that. I just yeah, it's because it's gonna be fast in the next
Yeah.
2 months. So, oh my god, I'm very excited about that. Anything else you want to say, Will? Before we head out.
No, I'm good.
All right. So, well, everyone, thank you for listening to this podcast. Me and Will be back for next Sunday to talk about What If when it's released on Wednesday. So no further ado, have a nice weekend and see you guys later.